live at NAB for Gals and Gear, where the Omniverse is about to meet the Multiverse.
And to my Gals and Gear, I support you 100%. I'm excited to learn about it because women, we are doing it. We actually have a few general managers in our virtual production network as well, and lots of producers and directors and creatives. So it's a joy to just be here, introduce you, welcome you to the View Theater as I bring onto the stage the woman who started, who founded it, Miss Amy. Miss Amy, come on up.
Thank you so much. So great to see all of you here. Another shout out for my gals. Thank you for coming and backing us up here. Woo! And I know the reason you're all here, 2 reasons, 3 reasons. NVIDIA is awesome. Marvel is awesome. Happy hour that's free is awesome. Right? Am I right? So, okay, 3 great reasons to be here. So let me just bring up, without further ado, I have Seppi Motamedi from NVIDIA, and we have Laura Lee Otis from Marvel. Come on up, ladies. All right, well this is great. It's great to have all of you here. I want to talk a little bit about something that we've all developed a love for, an affection for over the last 2 years, and that is remote workflows. Let's just admit it. We've had to do it. I'm glad we're all here in person though, right? How great is it to be here in 3D, right? Give it up for 3D. But let me just get to know these young women first before we get into the nitty gritty. So first, Seppi, tell us what you do at NVIDIA.
Hello. Hi. Yes, hi, I'm Seppi. I'm the Global Broadcast Industry Marketing Lead at NVIDIA. As part of that role, I manage and promote and advocate for the adoption of advanced technologies within the broadcast space. And yeah, that's what I do.
Fantastic. Anybody with global in their title is extremely impressive to me. I'm going to start calling myself the global head of Gals and Gear.
Absolutely.
Right now. All right. Laura Lee, tell us what you do at Marvel.
Yeah, I work at Marvel. I'm the manager of production technology, and we work on films from sort of start to finish, and there's a huge team of people sort of finishing a lot of movies all at once. So that's me.
And she keeps all those trains running at the same time. Incredible. A lot of workflow, crazy. So one thing I want to ask both of you before we dig into the workflow details is just one thing, if you could share with us one thing you really love about your job. Go.
I'm going. Yeah, you know, I think what I love most is working with all of our partners to imagine what the future of the broadcast industry could be, what sort of opportunities storytellers within broadcast can have as you know, technologies continue to advance, and what sorts of new experiences audiences can have. I love that. Yeah, that's what I love most.
What about you, Laura Lee?
Yeah, I love technology, I love film, and so it's a great place to work at Marvel. One of the nice things working there is it's a strong female presence. I get to work with women leaders and sort of see how to like run a large facility, and it's really cool to like introduce filmmakers to new technologies, and very exciting place to work.
Awesome. So COVID obviously completely changed workflows. In some cases possibly forever. And one of the things that happened to me as a content creator, which is what I do in my day job, is, you know, we really accelerated technologies. We had quite a few already happening, and it really accelerated our use of a lot of technologies that we kind of had in place, but weren't necessarily using all the time. And, you know, things like cloud solutions and DAM and asynchronous review tools and all of that stuff. So I'm just curious, what were some of your biggest concerns? And I'll ask you first, Laura Lee, when COVID hit, what was, besides the safety and security of the team, just what were some of the biggest concerns?
Yeah, at Marvel, I mean, I was there the night we were sort of shepherded off the Disney lot and told to go home, and there was no understanding of what would happen next. But the first thing our executives led us into was trying to get people to work from home. And so as a technology team, we worked on new solutions to have people that had never worked off of a lot work at home. And it was so cool to see technology change so fast. And it's not that the technologies were new, but it's that people's adoption of them were so fast, because we basically saved jobs. The more people we got working, the more jobs we saved. And it was so cool to like be on a team where we knew that every hour we spent helping this editor or helping this artist meant that we were moving these movies forward. It was sort of interesting during COVID because, at least for me, I was sort of one of very few people that kept going on the lot during COVID. And I didn't ever even think the movies would be released. And so it was just like working so hard for seemingly nothing, but now you're seeing all the stuff come out that we worked so hard on, and that's pretty cool.
That is pretty cool. And I would just like to say, in my household, Marvel is just, that's the bomb. That's what everybody wants to watch. Everybody waits for the new episodes to drop. So we appreciate all that work. Thank you. At NVIDIA, what were some of the immediate concerns that happened as COVID was hitting? What were you working on that came to the forefront?
Well, I have a couple of different perspectives on that because at the start of COVID, I was actually working in visual effects myself. I was in a small studio, and you mentioned that you guys had to, change production flows. That happened in VFX as well. Like media and entertainment, it's an ecosystem of interconnected parts, and what happens in one part impacts what happens in others. So, we had theaters shutting down, which was impacting release dates of films, which was impacting us on the vendor side, and we weren't set up for remote work before the pandemic because if anyone here works in visual effects, there are really stringent security guidelines, and you just can't suddenly go and prop up your laptop and
Can't send somebody a Google link to
you definitely can't. So there's like an entire infrastructure that needs to be built around it. And I think the IT teams of every studio were the real heroes of the day because I know that ours transitioned us very quickly as soon as we got the necessary approvals from fully in studio to fully remote. So that's the early pandemic perspectives. That's what I have. From an NVIDIA perspective, we don't have a view on just one industry, we have a view on all industries. And we could see that work was beginning to transition towards hybrid or even remote across all those industries. And certainly while the pandemic didn't start that transition, it did really accelerate it. If you know NVIDIA, you know that we ourselves, we're a global company. We have teams that are spread all across the world. We do remote work and collaboration with one another, and so we were creating a lot of different tools and solutions for ourselves, and then also releasing those tools and solutions to the marketplace. Tools like virtualization and AI-powered video conferencing tools and Omniverse. So, yeah.
So you want to show a little video clip before you do?
I would love to show.
Do we have a video clip that's something cool we can show people about NVIDIA? I believe we do, Josh.
Beige hue on the waters of the loch impressed all, including the French Queen.
Cool. Very nice. also want to say that my Twitch streamer at home is also very impressed that I'm hanging out with NVIDIA today. So I just wanted you to know that. All right, so sticking with some of the tools that you have, I'm just curious, what are some of the, and we can go to your slides, I think. What are some of the tools that you're working on during the pandemic?
Yes. So,
Where does she need to point that thing, Josh? That way. There you go.
there we go. Yeah. So I was.
You know, we're kind of up in the Metaverse. We don't know what we're pointing at up here.
Right. So as I was mentioning, we created a few different solutions for ourselves, and just as we were seeing work transition to being hybrid. And so the first one were our virtualization solutions. So we had developed just taking the content creation process to the data center is where we are anticipating that a lot of that creation is going to go. We developed vGPU software to bring the power of NVIDIA GPUs to virtual desktops, apps, and workstations. And you know, it really just allows IT teams to flexibly deploy resources as different workflows require them. Some workflows are really GPU intensive and they require more, and some just aren't and they require less. Thank you. Some just aren't and they require less. And so we were flexibly deploying it was a real key benefit of that. And just making virtualized workspaces accessible to all employees of the corporation, regardless of where they're working. And I think something that is really key in our industry is data being kept secure. You know, that's a big concern. And so this allowed for data to remain securely in the data center. I mentioned that we created AI video conferencing tools, and so this includes the NVIDIA Broadcast app, which if you are a streamer, you'll know about, and this leverages NVIDIA Maxine SDKs, NVIDIA Maxine being our real-time AI audio, video, and AR features that can be built into any video conferencing service. And then finally, we also developed Omniverse.
And that is very, very cool.
Yes.
Multiple artists connecting.
That's right. And you'll notice I'm reading in their slides because we prepare as women do. So, you know, there were a couple of trends that were happening. I touched on the global workforce and the work shifting, but there were a few other things going on, and in light of those trends, that's why Omniverse was developed. One of them was for, you know, like hindsight is 2020. We now know that everybody being stuck at home means that there was this unprecedented demand for content. And so as content exploded and the complexity of that content also sort of exploded, the number of specialized 3D content creation tools also increased. And these tools lack compatibility. They have linear one-way import-export pipelines, and those 3D pipelines themselves also, you know, increased in complexity. And so there was this demand for real-time photorealistic results, and that requires real-time ray tracing and path tracing, AI, physically accurate simulation. And so we developed Omniverse sort of in light of all those trends. So it's not just about work moving, it's about how the nature of creativity has changed. And so some key points about Omniverse, which I'm sure our Omniverse team would love for you to know, is that it allows for multiple artists and technicians to connect their existing 3D workflows and collaborate together on a shared scene in real time. Think of it as like the Google Docs of 3D. And it's based on Pixar's Universal Scene Description. And it's designed for live sync and cross-collaboration between all kinds of tools like Houdini, Maya, and Unreal. There's a collaboration and database engine called Nucleus, and allows for these applications to synchronize your data and work together in real time, and you're able to iterate and visualize in real time. It's powered by the RTX renderer, so you can generate high-quality final frame images in a real-time capacity. And we talked about GPU deployment and flexibility. The more GPUs you add to it, the more powerful it becomes.
This next one is the one I've been waiting for.
That
As a producer, all assets exist in one asset library.
That's right.
Intuitively.
Yes, intuitively with deep search. And you know, like imagine AI is tagging all of your assets, and so you're looking at it and it's based on images, and you can put in, hey, I'm looking for a tree, and all the trees pop up that your teams have worked on across the entire library.
It's my dream come true.
Yeah, it just really takes creativity to the next level that can be developed on. So, really, really great tool, and definitely in line with where 3D content creation and collaboration is going.
And I think to my point earlier about, you know, a lot of these tools were starting to emerge, and obviously AI has been developed for a while. Certainly we were talking about it at the last NAB show in 2019, which seems like eons ago. But, you know, the remote workflows really forced us to move faster, more quickly in some of these areas. And I think the searchability and tagging has been one of the most essential ones. Those of us who are working with remote teams, you know, nobody's got the time to look for things.
Absolutely. And then think about the fact that your content creation pipeline can go from being linear to being centralized, and what that means for you as the creator. Like, you can see that you're working on a scene, everybody is working on it at the same time. They get contextual information. You're not just making something in a silo and imagining what it might look like once it's been finally rendered. You can see it in real time, and it just really impacts decision making, and that's, you know, a great benefit to come out of it as well.
Fantastic. I'm curious, over to you in terms of what you were doing at Marvel. How did the workflow radically change, and how did it maybe not change, but the technology changed? Is there something you can share with us, that you can legally share with us about how you did that? I think you can turn your own slides on. Yep, there you go. Can we advance your slides, Josh? It's okay, Josh is coming. All is well. Josh to the rescue. There you go. Thank you, Josh. It's working now.
Thank you, Josh. I put together some slides on some things we did during COVID. This is just a handful of mini. I did want to shout out to some of our Disney team just sitting in the third row back here. They lead larger teams than me, and they're just awesome. So.
Yay. Come on, put your hands up, Disney team. Let's see who you are. Come on.
Come on.
Okay. Fantastic. And I just also want to especially shout out Katie Hinson, who's been so supportive of GALSNGEAR since we were founded in a restroom at NAB Show in 2015. That's another story for another day. Go ahead.
So the first thing that happened when people started to work from home is we found out people had terrible bandwidth. And so we started developing tools to identify and decide whether they could work from home or not. Whether we needed to get them new internet lines, whether they needed to move, whether they shouldn't use their old router from 1990 anymore. And so you can see here, no one could work with 17 download. And so that was like something we identified first off, that many of our artists just were not in a state to work from home, and so that's what we worked on first. Working from home involves setups at everyone's home where they did not have the proper equipment. So we bought equipment, we rented equipment, and it was sort of a unique situation to get to try out tons of new equipment, and that was sort of cool. After we got artists working from home and we got shows sort of moving again, the next thing was how to review. So we used to crowd like 20 people into a small review room, which obviously you can't do anymore. And so we went to like Clearview Flex, Sync Sketch, Evercast, and we found ways to let the executives see the reviews. This picture is actually a picture of the first person I walked into a review room during COVID. He was shaking because he hadn't seen another person besides his family in like 6 months. I walked him into this room and said, "You are expected to do all the reviews yourself and use all the equipment," which we used to run with like 10 or 15 people. Now it was just him alone in the room. So we reconfigured all of our screening rooms to have one person run them, who was the decider of colors. So this is a VFX supervisor, and he was expected to run the room, and then everyone else remotely would like make it work for all the people that needed to see it on the other end. And he got this little setup because these reviews are like 12, 15 hours in the review room, and so it was just him. I would check on him every once in a while to make sure he was still alive. We wanted to do like a theater experience for people because we can't decide how to put a movie out in the world without people seeing it. So this is one example where we tried to bring people on our lot and have them sit in chairs 20 feet apart and watch the movie outside. I don't think we did too many of these, but it was sort of fun to go see it prepared, and a lot of people put a lot of work into how this would work and how to make it safe, and it was just sort of a fun event. We set up so many machines during COVID, whether they were on our lot, in our data center, at home, and it was just a massive effort of purchasing, renting, and all types of equipment. And thank you to NVIDIA for all the equipment of theirs we use. We use their equipment in our screen rooms for like all of our color accurate reviews, etc., etc. So, thank you.
Also want to shout out Dell.
Yeah, and
A shout out Dell, who's also one of our Gals and Gear sponsors. Thank you, Dell. So both Dell and NVIDIA are also sponsoring this happy hour, so yay.
And what I think was interesting, at least in our case, we have high-level artists that aren't used to doing things on their own. And so we reached out to them one by one and got them set up and working, because a lot of them, you know, they feel very special, and they are, but we wanted to make sure that they could actually work still. And so being on long Zooms with bringing network people in and everyone else to make them able to work efficiently was pretty eye-opening. And thank you for listening.
Fantastic. So, one thing I want to ask you, Lorelei, is just, did you see a creative shift? Like, once you got around all the workarounds, right? Just like solving all the obvious problems, like the, you know, local networks that people were on and speeds and all that stuff. Was there a shift in sort of the approach to creative problem solving?
Yeah, I think as far as technology and creativity in film, what happened during COVID is that people embrace technology faster. So we embrace new applications like, for example, Bluescape, which is sort of a virtual board. So not everyone could be in a like storyboarding session anymore. And so we were able to use applications like that to really change the way the executives and the film creators work. What I think is interesting is what it opened people up to is sort of a work-life balance that they didn't have before. And so what I think is unique going forward is we don't see, at least right now, a change of that everyone's going to come in the office right away or ever. And so what's great for our technology team is we get to keep working on new ways to help all these ways people want to work, and that's sort of cool.
That is cool. And I'm curious, on the NVIDIA side, did you see just internally as well as with your clients any shifts in terms of what happened as a result of COVID and remote workflows and
Yeah, just to amplify what Lorelei said, it's exactly right. People's adoption of technology out of necessity accelerated as well, and just way more open up to virtualizing their infrastructure and how do we get everybody to work creatively together but in a remote environment, and you know, seeing the adoption of our NVIDIA broadcast app, for instance, to really take, you know, the conversations that you're having online with people just to that next level. So,
well, the slide that you had with all the people doing the same, you know, the workflow at the same time, working on visualization, is really pretty amazing.
yeah, as I mentioned, again, it kind of changes the entire process of how you make creative choices in the moment, when you can see how those choices look within the context of the entire shot as you're making them. So that's really significant, and I think it changes creativity, makes it a lot smoother too.
I'm curious, Lorelei, and I don't know if this is a fair assessment, but it seems like Marvel is putting out some really creative story content right now. And I'm wondering, do you think any of that was influenced by sort of people thinking around corners a little differently?
I'm not on the creative side, but what I've seen is the amount of content we're producing grow. So when I started at Marvel 6 years ago, we did like 2-3 movies a year, and now we're above 20. And so what that means is we're just bringing in more filmmakers, and we have new people coming in every sense. Even in technology, our team has expanded a lot. And so what that brings in is new ideas. Like my boss, Katie, she came in, she's like taking us down VR, we're doing this, we're doing that. And what is cool about that is that it like takes you outside of where you've been for the last, in my case, 6 years, and brings you to a new space. And I think that's happening across the board. I think when people were at home for so long, I think it allowed their brain to refresh. I know that, for example, one of our executives, she said she wouldn't have been able to keep going the way she was before COVID because she was just on a track where her health wasn't good and whatnot. And this allowed her to like sort of reset. And I think that helped a lot of people to be more driven in what they want to do and what they want to say.
It also seems though like everybody's pretty happy to be back in person. So I'm wondering, are you seeing any shift where you are still going to keep sort of remote? You mentioned not everybody's going to come back to the office, but are you doing some kind of hybrid model so people can interact?
Yeah, I think it'll be hybrid for a while. I don't know Disney's position, but that's my opinion.
And what about you for NVIDIA? What are you seeing down the line for customers? Are there demands that you see as we're kind of emerging from this pandemic?
Yeah, as I mentioned at the beginning, that we were already seeing the trend go towards hybrid and remote work, particularly as companies have more global footprint. And so, again, I don't think that the pandemic started that trend. I think it just really accelerated it, and I don't think that it's going anywhere anytime soon. I think that we're going to continue on towards hybrid and full remote work models.
Yeah, and just a quick story about this. We kept making trailers and videos that were like, oh, if we go in theater, maybe people would want to see this. And every time I was like, no one's ever going to see this. Why are we working on it? And this is one of those. But they're sort of fun.
All right, you get to be the first. Can we roll the video?
Let's track this from the beginning. We start with something pure. Something exciting. Then, deal with something new. Told you. Okay so far? You like it? I'm feeling it. Yeah. Why stop there? This is it. This is the path I started us on. Very strength invites challenge. Challenge incites conflict. Conflict breeds catastrophe. The thing isn't beautiful because it lasts. Universe now.
go to galsandgear.tv. You can see what we've got coming up on Tuesday here at the show. We've got a full day Women's Leadership Summit. So if you are a woman leader, if you are an ally and want to have more women and more diverse leaders in your company, we would hope you could join us. Hey, from Gals and Gear, thank you so much, Laura Lee. Thank you so much, Seppi. It's been great to have you. We'll see all of you at the happy hour somewhere out here very soon. Thank you.